Hello, my name is Beton, and I'm here with Sip, and we will be talking about the upcoming Shadow of the Galaxy expansions for Star Wars Unlimited. And in the next 5 videos, we will try to prepare you for the limited part of the expansion, so for sealed and for draft. And to not bore you with details, we will be going right back at it and talk about leaders. So this will be the part, the most important part of every draft at the beginning. So the first on the block is Gar Saxon, and I will let Sip explain you how he will work and how strong he will be.
Okay, so in terms of Gar Saxon, we both claim that he's gonna be a pretty good leader in Limited in the next set. And the main reason for that is because there are the upgrades are pretty strong in Limited in general. Like we could have seen that in the very first set, like with Tarkin, Academy trainings, and all sorts of upgrades. Like just giving one upgrade to your leader and making him stay on the battlefield for longer was enough to make that card, those cards really strong in that format. And Gar Saxon's excels at that. Like he also gives +1 as a leader, and then when he deploys, he also allows you to take the upgrades back to your hand, which also helps you to just keep playing those upgrades and get this +1/+0 upgrade buff constantly. And yeah, there are also quite a few good common cards in this set that support this leader, like what's there called Super Commando Squad. They have they cost 5, they have 4 attack, 4 HP, and are shielded. So when they enter play, they have shield token. And while they are upgraded, they also gain Sentinel. And basically in Saxon, they are 5/4 unit with shielded for 5 resources that also has Sentinel, and that's just a huge deal in this format because the stat line of units is one of the most relevant things in drafts.
But yeah, there is also there is also not that much removal in Limited. So any shield and upgrade are much stronger than in constructed formats. For the common and uncommons that will go well with him, there's also the client, because he will be basically a 3/5 for free with relevant ability, but the stats alone are what's important. We've also included his ship. That will be strong in any leader, but in Saxon he will be even stronger. And I think 2 most important cards for him will be Brutal Traditions. Because in set 1, as Sip told, Academy Training was one of the better commons you could take. And it's basically an Academy Training with upside in Gar Saxon. And if you're lucky, you can also get Lumpike. He's a rare, so it will not be as common, but he will have the best stats you can hope for a 4-drop, and his ability will only benefit you in Saxon.
Yeah, and also the smuggle keyword is pretty relevant in draft because the format, like by the nature, the games are longer, so you have more time to play those cards with smuggle.
Yeah. Basically, in limited formats, you balance between value and tempo, and in constructed formats, the tempo is a little bit more important because the games are faster, they are more refined, and they end quicker. And in draft, value is what determines if the card is strong. There is only handful of tempo cards that make the cut in limited formats for me. And as for like placing him among the other leaders, I think he will be top 3, top 4 best leaders in limited. I'm not sure if you agree.
Yes, I do. Like the things that we mentioned, I feel like just highlight how good he is. Like he deploys quite late at 6, but as we mentioned, it's not that big of a deal in drafts because you have the game is longer, so you have more time to deploy, and just it's not as important to deploy early.
Yeah, there's also the fact that he's a Mandalorian.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It gives a few really good cards that care about it. If you're lucky, you can get Mandalorian armor, and if you place it on Gar, he's basically unkillable unless your opponent got the rivals full. So he'll definitely be hitting tables on your local tournaments. And the next leader is Kira. And I think a lot of people are conflicted about how strong she is. For me personally, I'm not sure if she's as strong as some people make her to be. Her main weakness is the fact that after deploying, she is really weak. She's a 4/4 with an ability that requires you to play a certain way to be positive. But on the other hand, her ability is extremely strong. If you have the right units, if you have the right board state, she can make even a 1-drop handle a board for a few turns. Giving a shield, and especially with units with grit, is extremely strong. And if you manage to build a deck that consistently are able to put 1/4 grit unit for 1, or any unit that has Sentinel that has more than 2 HP, she may be really strong. But it's one of the leaders that you will need to take cards that are not that strong in any other leader. So they may be passed on, but if you don't get the correct cards for her, she will be really weak. Steve, do you have something to add?
Yeah, I want to just highlight for this set for draft which cards you have to look for in order to make Kira viable. Like the main one is Heilborn Enforcer. So
yeah, I'm showing him on screen.
He has 1 power, 4 HP, and costs 1, and has grit and bounty, which makes the opponent draw a card when he dies. But the main thing about him is the fact that you can play him turn 1 and then the very next turn use Kira's ability on him. So in the second round, he is from the start 3/2 unit with shield, which can attack by base and maybe just do some good trades. So yeah, he is one of the key parts that one of the key things that makes Kira viable. And he's not that strong in other archetypes. So yeah, you may just get him by chance on some of the later stages of picking cards. There's one more card that is pretty strong in Kira and not maybe not as good in other decks.
The Wookiee.
The Wookiee.
With grit.
But just basically a unit with grit, which Kira loves to have, and it's basically.
If a unit have grit, he will definitely be playable with her, and I think not many other leaders will be happy to run the grit cards, because if you don't have an ability to abuse the grit, it's one of the weaker keywords. I think the last card that is potentially okay with her is the 2/3 Sentinel. If you manage to use her ability on him, he will basically be a 2/1 shielded Sentinel, so it can lock a ground for a few attacks. And if I would rate her as her power level, I would make her something like an A tier. She's definitely not the best or on top with the best leaders, but she is definitely playable, and you with a drafted deck for her, you can surely win a tournament.
Yeah, I mean, she's alright. Like, I'm not sure whether she's A or B because the fact that there are not that many good cards that synergize with her very well. Like, there are like 3 or 4 cards with grid in this set, and that's not that much. And if you happen to not get all of them, then
I think she will definitely be stronger in draft than in sealed. Because in draft, you will be past a lot of these 1/4 guys. And you can build a whole deck with cards tailored for her. And in sealed, it will be much more about her individual strength. And as I said, she is a 5-cost leader that is a 4/4, and that may just lose you the game. It was like with on the set 1, there was Sabine that was really amazing in constructed, but one of the worst leaders in the game in limited because of her stats. Okay, let's go to the heroic blue leader, Finn. Mikołaj, can you?
Okay, so Finn, his action as a leader allows you to defeat friendly upgrades and give them a shield tokens. And there is one card that synergizes real well in this set with him, which is Rose. Can you bring the card on the screen so the viewers can see it?
I will. Yeah, I have her.
Okay, so here is Rose, and basically, she on attack she may defeat a shield token on a unit and give 2 experience tokens. So she just provides you with a really good engine if you have Finn, and that alone just makes her really strong in Finn deck. Outside of her, Finn doesn't really have that many great cards to synergize with him. Like he has a couple, but the Rose is the major one.
I think the biggest issue with this ability is that you need to remove an upgrade on a unit and give shield to that unit. So if you have a weak unit with upgrade, giving him a shield is not really what you want to do. But on the other hand, he has decent stats when he's developed. But his ability is then on attack. And for me, even with Rose, his like ceiling is not that high. So I'm not a big fan of him.
Yeah, I mean he's just alright, but yeah, you really need to have a Rose in order to make him work, and if you don't, then he's just a 4/6 and with an ability that works rarely.
Yeah.
And also, Rose is uncommon, so that's a thing. Like it's not that rare to get her, but if you don't get her, then you're pretty screwed with him.
His other
just 4/6.
His other issue is his colors, because I think heroic blue is not the strongest in the set compared to heroic villain that gets more like playable cards. Heroic hero got a lot of cards that are not that great in draft, So they got cards that have low stats and abilities that you need to play around, like Village Protectors, Concord Interceptor, and if you can't buff those units, it will be really in a bad spot. So let's see, the Concord Interceptor and the villagers. So for me, he's around the C tier. He is playable because he develops early. His stats are not terrible, but I don't think he will be something you really want to focus on, unless you get, if you get few rows and good blue cards. He is definitely playable, but I would advise you to check if the other options are better.
Yeah, like if you have Ray, because she's very she's just stronger, and the card pool is more suited for her.
So let's tell about Ray. I will let you start, and I will prepare the cards that are really strong with her.
Yeah, okay. So Ray. So the thing about Ray is similarly to Tarkin in the previous set. They're both really strong in limited because the upgrades are good, and just giving +1 counters allows you to make some good trades with opponent units and just get an early advantage that can snowball the game and just win you out of those counters. And her ability seems to be very limited in how you can use it, but if you take a look at the cards that are in Heroic Blue in this set, you can see that a lot of the cards are just kind of low statted, but yeah, they have like 1 or 2 attack, so they can get easily an experience token from Ray, and one of them is the Village Protectors.
I put it on the screen.
Yeah.
Let me go through the units quickly. Village Protectors are amazing because they will definitely survive the turn you play them. So you will be able to buff them immediately in the next turn or in the turn you play them. Clantron Rescuer is also amazing in her because you can buff him twice if he gave a token to something else. And even buffing him once will make him like a proper unit. So a 2-mana 2/3 is not great, but it's definitely playable. And if he buff himself and then you buff him, he is a 3-mana 3/4, which will also probably trade with an enemy 3-drop. There is also Kill that you can buff that have really powerful ability. There is a 4-drop Sentinel with 2/6, and there is the HWK in space that will be really amazing with Ray because high life total and attack that trades with, I think, 90% of space units will secure you the space zone for quite some time. And on top of it, when she develops, she has really good stats. Maybe not on the first glance because she's 2/6, so it's not great, but she can buff herself when she attacks. So on first attack, she is a 3/7 leader that restores 3, so it's basically a 6 life point difference. And there isn't really that many ways to kill her easily. So for me, that makes her, I think, the best leader in the set for limited.
Yeah, I mean, for limited, for sure, she is the strongest because, yeah, she just has a lot of stats, and the only thing that you have to be worried about is having enough cards that are low power in order to get value of her ability, and also make sure that she doesn't die on the turn when she enters the field. Because 6 HP is possible to be killed, but yeah, if the opponent doesn't have, you have to just wait for the time when opponent spends his resources, and then you can deploy her safely and just get the engine going.
And if your opponent doesn't deal with her, she can really swing a game in few turns, because the Restore 3 is an ability that allows you to go face. Because you can start racing if you get enough healing. And in the format that doesn't really have tons of removal, the ability for a big value from each attack is really important. Okay, let's go to the next leader, and it's Hondo Onaka. And now we went from one of the best leaders for me to one of the worst.
Yeah, okay. So do you want to talk about Hondo?
Yeah, let me start. His ability allows you to, whenever you play a card from Smuggle, you may exhaust him and give that unit an experience token. So, on paper, that this ability is not really that bad, but playing cards from Smuggle are really slow. So, if the card has Smuggle, it's awesome because you can play her later in the game, or you can play the card to gain additional value. But even the cards that you play from Smuggle, even if they get the experience token, it's really hard for them to be strong enough to want them to play from Smuggle, because you basically use Smuggle if you can't do anything else. Because most Smuggle cards are too more expensive than they should. So, for example, you have a 3 mana for 3 that has a Smuggle for 5. And for 5 mana, if the 4/3 unit would gain experience token, it would still not be a great unit. So this ability will happen once, twice, maybe 3 times per game if you play him. And compared to the strength of the other leaders' abilities, it's not enough to make him good. And the other part of him is that he develops on 6, so it's later than most leaders. But on the other hand, compared to Ray, his stats are mediocre. Even though on paper he has just 1 more HP and 1 more attack and raid, so he is basically a 4/3 unit. But Ray on first attack has the same stats, but has a Restore 3. And combination of the fact that his ability is not that great, he develops late, and he will not stabilize the board by himself, for me makes him one of the worst leaders in the set for limited.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with all that you said.
Yeah, and I'm not really sure if there is any card you want to play with him, especially you want to play the Smuggle card for their Smuggle cost while playing him, because every single card with Smuggle, it's still better to not play Smuggle. So you have, I think the best card for him might be the 2 mana 2/2 ship. So it will be 3 mana 3/3 ship that draws you a card basically. Because playing as playing card from Smuggle saves you a card, so it's basically like drawing a card. And if this is the best unit for him, I'm not seeing him as a strong leader.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, I feel like it's a good time to move on to the next leader.
Yeah, let's go to Jabba. I will let you start, and I will prepare the cards that are okay with him.
Okay. So Jabba's ability allows you to give bounty to the enemy unit, and that bounty says when the unit dies, then the next unit that you play this phase costs 1 less. And his ability is alright, like units tend to trade quite a lot in limited, so you might get some value out of him. The unit that synergizes real well with him is his Rancorn. Maybe you can show the viewers the Rancorns.
Yeah. Let me give me 1 moment. I will show the Rancor and few other cards as well. Okay, let me get the Rancor. Okay, I got it.
Okay, so Rancorn is 8 cost unit that has 9 strength, 9 HP, and also is 1 cheaper if you control Jabba as a leader or a unit. So basically in Jabba he costs 7, and if you happen to get the Jabba's ability, the bounty proc, then he is a 6 cost card, which is just a huge swing if you manage to play him on 6 resources and just get a 9/9 body with an relevant ability that deals 3 damage to a friendly unit and then 3 damage to enemy ground unit. And that's one of the things that really is good in Jabba. He deploys quite late, which is not that big of a problem in limited, but it's still 7 is quite late. Like 6 leaders that deploy at 6 are alright, but if you deploy at 7, it's quite late, and his top line is not that impressive. Like it's 212, so he's basically unkillable, but he doesn't provide you that much damage if you try to race. So he really wants you to control the field and just get a lot of value from that ability, the bounty one.
Yeah.
And also, yeah.
I also have like one more card that is really amazing with him, and it's the Reputable Hunter. Because it's a common. It's a decent card even if you don't play any ability, any bounty, and if you are able to play him on turn 1, it's just an amazing swing because it trades with every single 2-drop. And if you are going with red, you have also Jango Fett and Kirsantan. That's benefiting a lot for enemies having bounty, and I think this is his strongest ability. Even if you will not benefit from the paying for a unit less, the fact that a lot of units in the set care if something has a bounty, and a lot of commons care about something having a bounty. There is even a 5-drop that grows bigger if an enemy has a bounty. That's the
Trandoshan Hunters or something like that.
Yeah. So if you play those, they are 7/5 with Overwhelm for 5, and it's just enough of a boost for a card to be really strong, especially in limited, when in limited the stat lines of the units matter much more. Also, when you deploy him, another unit captures a non-leader unit. So yes, you play him a turn later, but he can stabilize a board a little bit when you play him. So for me, with how much support he gets and the fact that he's in a really strong color, for me he's one of the like A tier leaders with a correct deck and correct minions. He can be the strongest one even. But in the vacuum, I think he's about an A tier.
Yeah, something like that. Like he really wants you to be the guy who controls the field and not really
Because
be the aggressive one.
If you get few retable hunters and you reliably can play the hunter on turn 1, you will be alive for 7 mana to develop him. And if you have a Rancor, 6 mana for a 9/9 that kills something on attack and on enters play is just something that some decks will not be able to handle at all. So the fact that he plays a little bit uniquely and requires you to have certain cards to be playable, because if you don't have hunters, if you don't have the Rancor or Django, in the vacuum he's not very strong. But we are playing the set that has a lot of them, and most of them are in common, so I think in limited he will be strong enough to be playable. And maybe even strong enough to be one of the better leaders. Okay, let's go to a leader that will be only played on sealed, unless you manage to grab his showcase version in draft. For me, Moff Gideon is really similar to Jyn Erso. So he will be unplayable in Constructed, but he will be quite strong in Limited. He's worse than Jyn because he has worse stats, and his ability is also less reliable. Because if you attack with a unit that costs 3 or less, he gave 1 attack as an action. And when he deploys, he's a 3/6 minion, and every single unit that has 3 or less, that costs 3 or less, gets +1 and overwhelm. So his stats are really bad for a 5-drop, but his ability is quite strong. There is nothing really in the set that synergizes with him amazingly well. Most of the cards that synergize him really well are in the starter set. But I think he will be definitely playable leader. He can use his low drops to trade with more valuable targets. And that will be his main strength, to control the board and to go to the point that you have such big of a control that you will just finish the game. Steve, do you have anything to add for him?
Not really. Like, you compared him to Jyn Erso, who proved to be a quite good leader in the first set, but yeah, he has the weakness of not having that great of a stat line, and yeah, like there are not that many cards that synergize really well with him in this set. So yeah,
but the fact that make me believe a little bit in him, that in this set there is much more 2 mana 2/3 minions and much less 2 mana 3/2 minions. And his ability is really strong if you and your opponent both play 2/3 on turn 1, because you basically trade for 3, and then you can trade with something else the turn later. But if you don't manage to use his ability, he will become weaker and weaker for the duration of the game. Because the later you go, lower amount of units can use his ability, and one attack is less important. So you need to get the hold of the game at the beginning if you want to play him, and just never let it go. Okay,
so
and
moving
now
on
the
with Boba, who in the very first set was quite infamous for being a really strong constructed leader, and this time around he's a heroic unit in green, and in limited we believe that he's gonna be a quite good leader, and the main reason for that is that there are a lot of units that have keywords like smuggle, like bounty, and all of the keywords that were in the very first set. And just giving a +1 to a unit for a turn might allow you to take a good trade, which you otherwise wouldn't be able to make. And also he synergizes really well with ambush abilities, which are also really good in limited formats because they all again just allow you to take good trades and just get the advantage on board and just stabilize the game easily. And there is one card that makes him basically unkillable in this format, which is Boba Fett's armor. And yeah, unless the opponent has a flank fighter or a way to remove upgrade, the fact that
there is basically a flank fighter and rival's fall. If your opponent doesn't have one of those two cards, he never dies. If you get the Boba Fett's armor and you have Boba Fett and you've managed to upgrade him, your opponent, you just put a clock on your opponent. Does they have a upgrade removal or hero removal, or they lose? Because he is 4/7 when he deploys, so he will be 6/9 with Boba's armor, and you will basically trade with 5 units, something like that, before he goes down. And on the units that synergize really well with him, there is a Cloud Rider. So 2 mana 3/1 ambush is a strong unit. 2 mana 4/1 ambush is an amazing unit. And that's the team with him. He just makes units that are okay into units that are really strong. So Enfys Nest, 5/4 ambush. With 5 attacks, he doesn't really kill most leaders. With 6 attacks, he kills almost every single leader in the game. So she kills Rey, Finn, and many others. Han. And that's with those ability that makes your unit stronger, and with the fact that units that have a keyword are already strong, most of them are already strong, he will be really, really good. For me, it's definitely on the top. Next to Rey, one of the strongest leaders in Limited.
Yeah, and it's slightly lower than Rey, but he is definitely very high. Like, the green color is just good in limited formats.
Yeah. And he's a common, so you will be seeing him a lot. So, and now let's talk about the guy you will not be seeing a lot. I'm actually not sure if there is a lot to say about Hunter. He deploys at 7. He has good stats. You will not be able to take this away from him. 5/8 is a good stat line. 8 HP almost guarantees you that he will survive. but his ability is useless. It's basically useless. So if you manage to use this ability once a game, it will be an achievement, and it will still not be very good. Because it's basically 1 mana draw a card. And drawing cards in Star Wars Unlimited is not that important. And it's even less important if it's conditional. Because, as I said, having a friendly unit that shares a name with another friendly unit will be hard to do. And even if it would not be hard to do, this ability would still not be amazing. He will develop late, he will still not have any ability, so you will only play him if it's your only option. If you have amazing green hero and you doesn't have any other leader to play a green hero, you might want to play him, but if you have Boba and if you have Hunter, you always play Boba. If you have almost any other leader from the 16 that the colors you play fit, I would guide you to take the other one.
Yeah,
For me, he's the worst limited leader.
There is one leader which is even worse in the yellow villain.
Yeah, you're right. We will be talking about her. Okay, so he's the second or third worst leader in limited. But the fact that he's rare and you have a common leader that is better at every single step, I think he will be just unplayable. If you see your opponent running him, you know that he had to make some hard choices.
Yeah, exactly.
And now let's talk about someone who's actually really strong.
Yeah.
I will let Mikołaj tell you about him, and I will prepare cards you want to run with him.
Okay, so Bosk as a baseline allows you to deal damage to units with bounty, and as you may guess, there are quite a few cards with this keyword in this set. There are also downgrades that allow you to place a bounty on enemy unit and just get a benefit of some sort when the unit dies. And there's one bounty in particular that makes Bosk a really strong leader in limited format, which is Rich Reward. And the reason for that is because when Bosk deploys, he allows you to take the reward from bounty twice. So, okay, can you show the rich reward? So,
yeah, of course.
Yeah. Okay. So here is the rich reward, and when the unit that had this bounty dies, it allows you to give 2 experience tokens to one experience token to different units. And if you happen to have Bosk on the field as a leader when you deploy him, then you get to give those 2 experience twice. So you get 4 experience in total, which is a major swing and can just win you game just basically out of that one card which was used with the leader. And yeah, there are also quite a few cards that just get some sort of bounty synergy, like Crescente, like Django, like the reputable Hunter that was mentioned alongside Jabba. Just a lot of cards that just have some sort of synergy that makes them really strong with bounty.
There is also Punishing One. There is also the yellow 4/3 SWU-SwoopRacer that has shield.
Yeah, the the bounty hunter that gets
Yeah.
a shield token if any enemy unit has bounty.
Yeah, and in addition to that, because he has relevant ability, he has good stats, he has much better ability when he develops, and he's a bounty hunter, which has some some cards that benefit from it. He's also underworld. There is a few cards that benefit from this. He has decent stat line, and like I think he's up there with Boba and Rey for the best leaders.
Yeah, he is definitely S tier-ish leader for sure for limited.
Yeah. So let's talk about the
next leader.
The shirtless guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I think I will compare him to Sabine. Sabine was in the first set a 2-5 leader that developed on 4. And even though she was really strong in constructed, she was one of the worst leaders in limited. And I think Kylo will be the same. I don't think you will be able to build fast enough deck for him to be strong. And if you do not manage to dump your hand when he develops, you basically develop a 2-4, a 3-4 leader that will die on the first attack and then will be useless for the rest of the game. I would personally never even try to build him in limited. Unless I don't have any other choice, unless I need him just for the colors, because his ability it's usable, but you are spending a lot to give to attack. And his stat line are not the best. It's amazing if you manage to dump your hand, but then you don't have any cards to continue the game. If you dumped your hand on 4 resources, then you are playing from top of your deck, and you just rely on luck to win. So for me, he's bottom 3, bottom 4 worst leaders in the set. For limited.
Yeah, for limited, because as you've mentioned before, like the limited format is much more about trading and just getting value out of that, and the constructed format is more about tempo. And Kylo is just a leader that really wants you to play the tempo game and win quickly. So he doesn't really work that well in limited.
Yeah, and okay, I will mention one card that you need few other cards to work, but may be able to make him playable, and it's Palpatine's Return. Because you can abuse the ability to discard a force unit and play him. So you can basically play Maul for 6, or you can play. You can't play Snook because you would need to pay 10 for him. So even his best case scenario is not really that great. Because you can play Kylo, you can play you could play Cryat Dragon, but without a discount. Now his base case scenario is weak. So I will just say that just don't play him. If you can, don't play him. Okay, and on the other hand, now we have a leader that you want to play. And I don't think we need to spend much time on her. She has amazing ability. Whenever you attack with Mandalorian, there's plenty Mandalorians in the set. There is enough Mandalorians that even if you build a sealed deck, you will have at least 5-6 Mandalorians in the deck, and probably more. And her ability, okay, you cannot use it on the first turn. You can start using it from the second turn. The ability is amazing. The ability allows you to make favorable trades with almost any unit. She develops quite late because it's 1 mana later than her stats. So, for example, 5 mana 4/7 is like a baseline for a really good stats. So 6 mana 4/7 are weaker, but in limited it doesn't really matter that much that she will develop a turn later, and her ability is even stronger when she develops, and her stats allow her to survive for the attack. So for me, she will be like the top of A tier, or the even in the S tier as a leader, just for the fact that she has relevant ability. She will be controlling the board. She's in the really strong colors, so heroic red is a strong combination, and she will be dominating if you manage to keep few Mandalorians alive. Do you have something to add?
I mean, there are a lot of Mandalorians in the set, as you've mentioned. I feel like there are a few cards that are worth talking about. While we are on topic of Bo-Katan, the Mandalorian's armor is the main one. It's just an upgrade that gives her +1, +3, and a shield token because she's a Mandalorian. And yeah, as we mentioned before, upgrades are really strong in limited formats, so this card is really strong with her. There are also a lot of Mandalorians who, yeah, they're basically just what you need in order to make her work, and there are plenty of them in this set. So yeah, she's just a really strong reader, and for sure just top of A tier or maybe bottom of S tier, something like that. Okay, let's move on to the next one.
And now we have leader that will dominate constructed, and he will dominate limited probably as well. Okay, I will let Sip start with this one, and I will just pull few cards that are amazing with him.
Okay, so Han allows you to just make your curve better. Whenever you draft or sealed, you might not get the curve that you need in order to make the deck work properly. And Han allows you to play some cards cheaper. So if you happen to have 2 cards for which cost 4 and then not a single card that costs 3, you just get to use. You can use his ability and then play on 3 resources the card that costs 4, which basically allows you to develop the board efficiently early. And yeah, there are quite a few cards that are really strong in red heroism, as we mentioned before, like Cassian, like the ship, the 5 cost, 5 attack, 6 HP, the Desperate Fighter is just a good unit that you can play on 4 resources and just gives you a 5/4 body, and he's also a common, so you'll see him pretty commonly. There's also the Renegade, which is 4 attack and 1 HP when played from Han's ability. That's also a really good subline.
Yeah, 4/1 drop is amazing. If you manage to play 4/1 drop and the other 1 drop on the same turn, it's a start that will easily dominate the board. There is also the Wanted Insurgents, so you can basically play them on turn 1 as a 4/2, and the bounty doesn't really matter because you will trade them for the opponent minion. His ability is just really powerful, and allows you also the unique perspective of playing much more expensive cards. Expensive, like you can play more 5, 6, 7 drop cards than normal because you can lower their cost by 1. So it's much easier to always use all of your mana on the turn. And in limited, it's extremely important to use all of your mana. Because basically, every mana you don't use, it's the stats on a minion that are missing. And that's what wins you the limited format. Because you will rarely find a cool combo or a team deck. You will most likely just play strong units that are that will try to dominate the board. And if you miss mana on any turn, your opponent may just outvalue you. And Han's ability just makes it really easy to never miss a play. He also develops early, and his ability loses the fact that you can use it only once each turn, which makes it ridiculous if you manage to build a correct deck with it. Because
Yeah, exactly.
if you have I don't know 4 2-drops and you put all of them on the board on 5 mana, in this set there really isn't any mass removals. So there is no barrage like in set 1. There is no free damage to any unit. So if you manage to build a wide board, it will be extremely easy to just go face and win.
Yeah, and also one of the things that is also like rare in limited, but Han really like gets a lot of value out of that is playing cards out of the aspect. Like sometimes in limited, especially in sealed, you might happen to get a really good legendary card. Like in this set, you might get a Snoke or Kylo, but unfortunately, you don't really have a leader that has the color of those rare units, and you may just play Han and play them for only 1 more, because as the aspect penalty says, you have to pay 2 more for that unit, and because of the Han -1, you get to play them for just 1 more, and sometimes it just might win you the game, like if you play the Snoke, because he just provides a lot of value.
Playing like the bombs for 1 more still will sometimes win you the game, and I just think he will be amazing. And the leader that will probably counter him a little bit. Mm-hmm. Because Han will often play units that have 1 HP left, and Cat Bane will be the bane of him.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So do you want to talk about Cat?
Yeah. Let me. I know he's your favorite character.
Yeah, he kinda is.
But as a leader, you don't even need to look at his stats. His stats are irrelevant because his ability is so strong. Underworld is a keyword that is plentiful, so 1/3 of the cards in the set have the Underworld
keyword. Yeah.
Keyword. So his ability will be almost used every turn, and dealing 1 damage, like we said it with Bo-Katan. Bo-Katan can choose, and it's stronger if you can choose, but it's harder for her to attack and do it always. Cat Banes really locks your opponent from ever playing a unit that has 1 HP on turn 1. So they can't play the 2/1 ship. Han cannot play the 4/1 because if you have the Underworld card, it's just too big of a swing. And with that, when you develop him on 6, he has really good stats. It's not like he will be weaker. Okay, he is only 2 HP, 2 attack when you attack into him, but he has rate 2, so he will trade decently. 8 HP makes him almost unkillable without like a spell to kill him instantly, but almost none of the units can kill him on 6. And his ability is twice as good when he's developed. So on turn 6, you can play low cost underworld unit, deal for 1, develop him, play another unit, deal for 2. So you basically get deal 3 damage for free. So for me, he will be really, really strong. Do you have anything to add? I have one card to say that will work really well with him. I will find it in the moment. So
yeah, I mean, is it an event that costs 1? Is it the card?
No, McClunky is also amazing with him because McClunky has the underworld keyword. So playing McClunky already deals 1 damage with him. But there is also a card that many people may miss while building a deck for him, and it's the Salacious Crown.
Oh, it's this one. I forgot kind of about this one, but yeah, it's just an underworld that you can keep replaying.
Yeah, and this combo, even it doesn't look busted. It's basically 1 mana, deal 2 damage, heal 1 from the base every single turn. And
it's a lot of value.
And it's a lot of value. And it's not only a lot of value, it's also a lot of card draw, because you do not need to use any other card to keep repeating it. So for me, he will be really, really strong. And he will be really fun to play. And also, on the other hand, it will be really cool to play against, because you will need to constantly think, can I deal 1 damage to any of my units? What if I need to deal damage to my unit? Which unit I need to deal damage to? So it will be a lot of fun interactions. And now, a leader that we don't really need much time to talk about. She is by far the most useless leader in the game. I don't think, even with every single correct card, you should run her. Because you will more often than not lose the game because you run out of cards. Because in Limited you have 30 cards, so you have 24 cards at the start of the game in your deck. And instead of drawing 2, you draw 3 with her, but you don't get to keep the card that you discarded. She has terrible stats. She has unusable ability. So I don't see anything that is redeemable from her.
Yeah, even remotely good with her.
Unless you manage to draft 7 Kylo ships, there is not even a card that synergizes with her. So for me, it's the worst leader in the game. Not even in this set.
Yeah, exactly. Just don't play her in draft.
Just don't play her. But you can play Fennec instead. She is actually quite good.
Yes.
Okay, I will let you talk about Fennec.
Okay, so Fennec is pretty good in drafts and sealed, because the ambush keyword, as I've mentioned before, is pretty good in this format. Like, it allows you to just get efficient trades and stabilize the board easily. The penalty of unit being only 4 or less, the unit has to cost 4 or less in order to be able to be played from her, is some sort of limitation, but it's still manageable. Like, there are quite a lot of units that are at this cost. And yeah, just getting a lot of good trades is pretty good. Her stat line is not that impressive. Just being a 4/4 for 5 makes her easy to kill, but he has two things that really are a big advantage when she deploys. If you manage to keep her alive, she has Saboteur, which in many cases gives you uh, quite a lot of value in this set because there are quite a few of shield tokens and stuff that just gets screwed by the Saboteur, like Dr. Evazan and stuff like that. And also, her ability becomes just free. You have to pay for the unit of course, but you don't have to pay the one resource for giving it ambush. So yeah, if you manage to keep her alive, she's good.
I will only add, because I think you told everything that is important with her. With her, you want to try to trade efficiently. So you want to ambush a units that will survive the attack, and you just want to build the board of units to try to trade as efficiently as possible. And this ability just allows you that, because even if you overpay for a unit and it trades and it survives, it will always be better than just playing it without doing anything. So just for that, she will be a strong leader, and I think she will be one of the stronger ones. But I don't think she is on the level of Ray or Bosk or Boba.
Yeah, she's like 8-ish, something like that.
But I would say the same. But her heroic counterpart is trash.
Yeah, it's just a weak leader.
I think it will be one of the biggest traps for new players, because he seems like, oh, I will play a card for 2 less from Smuggle. I will dominate a board with Millennium Falcon for 4 mana. The only issue with that is you will dominate the board for 1 turn, and then you will have a leader that has useless stats, ability that you can use once or twice a game before you run out of resources. And the problem is, okay, you will dominate the 1 turn you play something big, like Millennium Falcon, or let me bring the cards, because I only think there are 2 cards really worth playing with him. And it's,
yeah, to be honest, I really struggle to think about the other one.
I think it's Millennium Falcon for 4 and Zori Bliss for 4. It's those 2 cards. Yeah, it's those 2 cards that may let you win the game, because if people will not have an answer to a 5/5 in space, you may win the game. But to play Millennium Falcon, you also need to develop a leader that is basically useless. So you gain a little bit of stats in space, but you lose on the stats you gain from the leader. He will not have an ability anymore. And in comparable to the first set, in the second set, there is much more good space units. So it will be not that easy to dominate it with a good space unit. So for me, he has the same stat lines as the Villainy, as with Dr. Aphra, and he will be almost as bad. He will be a little bit better, but not very.
Yeah, it's still this tier of Hunter, Lando, and Aphra, where you just don't really want to play any of these leaders. Just play anything else and you're better off.
Yeah, on Sealed, on the other hand, you can play him.
Yeah.
And he is good. The ability to tap while playing an upgrade will be better in Constructed, because you can build a deck around it. But in this set, there is a lot of upgrades, and you can build a deck that plays around upgrades. He develops on 6, has decent stat line, and has the same ability. I don't think he will be as strong as some people say, because tapping a unit is not killing it. It will allow you to race really well, but it will not allow you to trade better. So for me, he's like a middle of the pack leader that may be really strong if you build a deck for him, because he's a bounty hunter and Mandalorian, so he has a few cards that synergize well with this. Sadly, his weapon that is in starter set is not in boosters.
Yeah.
So like his strongest weapon will not be playable. But I still think he just has a good stat line, ability that will be like used 3 to 4 times a game if you have a correctly built deck. So I think it's like a middle of the pack, top of B tier leader.
Yeah, Mandalorian is this type of leader that you just play because you have a lot of like good yellow heroic cards, but don't really have any other options. Like he's alright, but he's not particularly great. Like his ability when he is on the field as a unit is still alright because you have the you can just raise slightly better because you can exhaust units that have 6 HP left. Instead of 4, but he's not that great.
Before we started recording, we created like a tier list that how we felt about the leaders before we talked, and I think like for most part I agree with the standings that we created before. That's why I put it on the screen. And I think I will after the talk I will maybe add Cat Bane to the S tier and maybe Han to the S tier, and the rest will be probably as it is.
Yeah.
Maybe
Hondo has to be slightly lower also, I feel like.
I will put Hondo lower, and I actually, after we like discussed how Jabba may work, I will put him a little bit higher. Because I think ceiling for Jabba is really high, so we can build really strong decks for him. But it will be a deck that are, if you have a strong Jabba deck, it will be amazing and it will play really well. But if you have mediocre Jabba deck, it will be terrible. So that's why we at the beginning we put him really low. But I think he will be on the stronger side if you manage to build a good deck for him.
Yeah, and also one of the things that is worth mentioning about leaders is that in order to make them work, you really need, in some cases, you need specific cards to make them work. Like if you don't have that many bounties and cards that synergize with bounty, then the boss key is not gonna be that strong. Or maybe you don't have many Mandalorians, then just Bo-Katan doesn't really work that well. But yeah, if you happen to have a lot of cards that synergize with that leader, then sometimes just some leaders might become better.
I think in the vacuum, if you don't have any like a way to manipulate the cards you get, so if you get like I don't know in sealed when you get a pool of cards, I think the most consistent leader that will be good will be Han, because it will be really easy to build a deck for him. Because of the ability to lower the cost of cards, you will always find a curve that is really strong. And in limited, it's really important to have a strong play on each turn.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. I feel like maybe Boba, the 4/7 might be slightly better, but they're of course, both very consistent.
Yeah, because 4/7 Boba is also really consistent because almost every card in the game has some sort of keyword. At least every good card in the game. Okay, I think that will be it for the first video. I hope you get something from it and you will do better in your next local tournament. On the next days, we will also post videos about commons, uncommons, and cards from every single color for limited. And after the sealed tournaments, we will also be posting decks and tips for the constructed format. So thank you very much, and have a good day.